The last time I wrote about the nature of the legend of Huma, forever and a day ago, it was a fairly popular essay, and it stopped just short of the entry of that great hero upon the scene. His uncle of Rennard had appeared, and that was all. Rennard is an interesting character. He presages the morally grey character of later days, our own era, but is more than that. He is someone who, when faced by such men's suffering as to numb a person's mind, chose to cave in every time. He is a life that was wasted on pain, jealousy, and also on stealing that which belongs to others. And yet he's someone who still clings to the idea that he has honor. If we compare him to more popular grey characters, he really does fall short, as redemption ultimately, for the most part, evades him, which is a shame. There was once an honorable man under the veneer of envy that pervades his being now. But it is not him that our gaze should turn to, but to his illustrious nephew, who rides in on the scene, seemingly from nowhere. Huma watched the tall, almost gaunt knight ride forward. If Lord Erstwhile wished to speak to Rennard, then something was afoot. That something might involve Huma himself, for Rennard seemed to watch him keenly, although Huma was already blooded. Perhaps, like Huma himself, Rennard still believed that here was one who never should have been accepted into the ranks. So as we can read here, Huma has been blooded, and Rennard intimidates him. The old knight daunts him because his gaze penetrates him deeper than any sword could, and strikes him as particularly judgmental. This is fairly common for many among the young. They do not believe themselves worthy of the honor and favors poured on them. It is funny, but every time I start a new job, I always feel nervous. It is something I can't help, and anyone who has done streams or lives with me knows I'm very nervous. I usually heave a heavy sigh after we're no longer on the air. You see, there are those who are even more apprehensive over their jobs than that. Those like Huma, who have been at it long enough to get a decent promotion, and yet still doesn't feel worthy. Huma's problem is one of confidence. So what can be discerned here is that, like Matthias from Redwall, he doesn't yet know what he can do, and isn't aware of his own talents as of yet. He's of course a sturdy fighter, but a wholly untested one, at least on a spiritual level. Huma bounced as his war horse stumbled in the mud. The visor of his helmet slammed down in front of his face, startling him. He reached up and raised it, allowing the cool wind to bite at his handsome, if somewhat weathered, features. Though his mustache was not as grand as that of Bennett or the High Warrior, there was some dignity in the slight grey that prematurely touched it and the rest of the hair on his head. His visage was surprisingly soft, so much so that others occasionally commented on his youth, although not when he was nearby. Here we see the first description of Dragonlance's greatest hero, and that though still in his 20s, Huma has weathered features. This means that though he's handsome, he has begun to age prematurely. This is relevant because in Dragonlance, Sturm was the same way, with Huma and Sturm Brightblade, the Solamnic knights of the Chronicle trilogy, often compared to one another. The thing about Sturm, however, is that he is considerably greyer hero than his idol, who is a considerably more cheerful, idealistic man. Huma, though, is the most human character in a manner of speaking. He stresses about things he has no power over, and worries over little things, even as he forgives all trespasses and idealizes those he loves. Yet when betrayal bites into him, he is always surprised. Needless to say, he's a fan favorite for very good reasons. And part of the favoritism is that he was just an ideal in the first trilogy, and yet in this prequel novel, we see him as entirely human, even as he leaps heads and shoulders above everyone else. He's just so pure, not in the sexual sense, but in the emotional and spiritual sense. Above all else, he's his own character, a heroic knight who champions over evil incarnate. This is important as we need characters like Huma, like Luke Skywalker, like Erstwhile, because they make us believe we too can slay monsters, as C.S. Lewis would point out. Huma could not help staring at the grimy, torn clothing of Ceradan's women and children. Even his own armor, worn as it was, and much less intricately decorated than that of Lord Erstwhile, seemed made of gold when compared to what they had. Their rags hung loosely, and Huma wondered how often these people ate and how much, and what they ate, for that matter. The rebellious part of his nature wanted to take his pack from the saddle and throw it to the villagers. Let them have the rations stored in there. Probably would be the best meal they had eaten in weeks. Like a lot of messianic characters in literature, Huma embodies the 7 virtues, and here he embodies kindness as he resists the urge to toss them his rations. It is what he wishes to do, and yet he doesn't. But he also embodies diligence, as he stays on target, so that we have a lesson in self-discipline. Pity is all well and good, but if you starve yourself, how can you help others? This is the dilemma that besets a lot of writers, so that they are challenged by the fact that messianic characters are hard to get just to say right. They are supposed to be deep, good, and honorable above all else. King Arthur should kind of be like this. Same with Luke and Huma, and each of them have had profoundly long-lasting cultural impacts. They are popular and beloved for a reason. In minutes, thankfully, they were far away from Ceradan. The ground was hard and easier for the mounts to trot upon. That was not surprising. The fire which had killed much of the forest they had rode towards had baked the nearest fields. No food would grow here for years to come. It was all so useless sometimes, Huma thought. Where was Paladin? Huma wondered that a god could allow this to happen, and he glanced at the ashy stubs of trees as the patrol rode along. Krynn might as well be in the claws of Takesis already, the way things were going. He clamped his mouth tight, that he dared call himself a knight after thoughts such as that. 1. There's a reference to oh wait, that's just the world, never mind. Could not resist this joke. What is more is that we have a clear message about the cost of this particular war. Nothing will grow in those fields for years to come, and the realization sends Huma to his proverbial knees. Horrified and sick with grief at this fact, the youth is sent crashing to his knees. This is a situation just about anyone else would fall apart over, but not Huma. He's made of sterner stuff. He's an ideal we should all aspire towards, much like Roland, Gawain, and King Arthur among many others. He's chivalry personified, for a lack of a better term. It is for this reason that much as he gives in to despair, he reacts with horror at his own weakness. Certainly, he could blame the fallen state of the world of Krynn, but to blame it on Paladin, who seeks to end the conflict rather than extend it, unlike Takithis. As they reached the first patch of gnarled, twisted trees, the knights lowered their visors. From a distance, they might have looked like demons, for the horns and wings that decorated the side of each knight's helmet were now more evident. The more elaborate, the higher the rank. Save in Rennard's case, typical of his ways, he had only a crest that rode from the front all the way down the back. The woods were but one more sorry victim of the seemingly endless war that had razed the continent of Ansalon. Huma wondered what this land had looked like before the Dragon Queen's creatures had ravaged it. The dead trees gave the wood an evil look. The patrol was unusually tense. Eyes darted here and there as each knight sought a foe behind the blackened trunks. Huma clutched at the hilt of his sword. For a brief moment, a motion seemed to catch his eye. A wolf? In this barren land? As the knights moved on, he noted no new movement. Nerves. There was no life in these woods. There was nothing but sorrow. Here is the presentation of how silent Rennard is. His though, is the silence of winter, of coldness, and death. This part of how he is so completely and utterly terrible. I love this about him, as he's one of the greatest villains of the 80s. Knack did a great job with him. But what's more is that the wolf imagery is important as it demonstrates a barren land which suffers from famine, with many animals abroad and on the hunt for people as they are suffering too. In a word, the wolf is a symbol of the depths of despair that people have succumbed to. As to the message of how there was nothing but sorrow ahead, indeed, but that's how it is in life. We must plunge into the woodlands and plunge ahead into the darkness to combat with the sorrow. Life is sorrow, and we must learn to wrestle with it, overcome it, and conquer it if we are to become the better for it and become truly great.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button to stay tuned for the next one. Also, check out our trailer on our new channel. The link will be in the comments section, if I can remember to put it there. And so, until next time, friends.